Welcome back to the Fenway Focus. My name is Derek. I'm here with Jason. It is another impromptu episode, and that's because there's another contract extension. The Boston Red Sox have extended Kristian Campbell to an 8-year deal worth $60 million with two club options on the back end that would increase it to 10 years, $100 million on the dot. It is a big time deal, very important for the Red Sox in terms of locking up a big time piece for them in their future. And if you go by AAV, that 60 million over the 8 years is only 7.5 million AAV. Seems like it was important for Campbell to get kind of financial security, and those last 2 years at 19 and 21 million, respectively, would bump that from the sixty million over 8 to 100 over 10. Um, I'll just go to you, Jason. First of all, how are you doing? And then second, how do you feel about the Red Sox extending Kristian Campbell?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's a great day because, I think at the end of the day, it was something that Craig Breslow and co. wanted to get done, and something that, like similar to Crochet, they had probably had a self-imposed deadline, but they said we'll keep talking and we'll do it. And it's good because this is a very low risk extension because they love Kristian Campbell and they think very, very highly of him. And if he's the player that everyone's making him out to be, then man, this looks like a steal. Like you said, this contract maxes out 10 years, 100 million. I mean, talk about not wanting to make a Mookie Betts 2.0, right? Immediately getting to work, immediately putting the pen to paper, immediately giving him the money that he wants some money, but going year by year, 1 million in 2025, in 26 he makes 2, 27 he makes 3 million, 28 he makes 4 million, which is about his ARB1. ARB2 would have been 2029 and about 6 million, and then ARB3 would be 2030 at 9 million. That doesn't even include 2031, which is 13 million, and then 2032, which is 16 million. Which is you can buy out. You just bought out 4 free agent seasons for Kristian Campbell, which is amazing. Just because if he is the guy that everyone, like I said before, is making him out to be, he's going to be an all-star come the middle of that contract, maybe even the first 2 or 3 years. This is a good day for the Boston Red Sox, and any fan should be happy about this. Now, AAV wise, 7.5 million. That's not a lot, right? Payroll wise, he's getting paid less than that for the first 5 years of the contract, but still, it's crazy. It's crazy that we see this emphasis. We saw it even in Hein Bloom, right? Getting these young guys and extending them. Did he do it to the right guys? Not necessarily. It was about the moves. I think, Derek, this is your line, and I like saying it too. It wasn't about the moves that Hein made. It was about the moves that Hein didn't make. And Craig Breslow is already kind of on, similar philosophy where he wants to extend these young guys. He's doing it. He's putting the pen to paper, and he's doing it. Kristian Campbell, great signing. I wouldn't be surprised if they did this to a Roman Anthony come May. I don't know how you feel about that.
I wouldn't be shocked if you saw something like this with Meyer or with Anthony. On all honesty, maybe not right away. That could maybe be more like this upcoming off season, just because they won't make their big league debuts until probably sometime mid season. So I don't know if they would necessarily sign them before they make their big league debuts, but it would not surprise me if there's a deal coming around the corner for both of those guys at some point in the somewhat near future, whenever that may be. But overall, okay, I just want to get to this point. Kristian Campbell, with his contract, nets a $2 million signing bonus. We go back, he was drafted in 2023 with a comp pick in the fourth round, got a $492,700 signing bonus.
You want to remind the listeners who that comp pick was for?
Well, we'll get to that in a second. Xander Bogart. But Well, here's the funny thing. Even if it wasn't Bogarts, if Bogarts stayed, that pick would have became the Evaldi comp pick. So either
Yep.
way, but no, it doesn't really work like that necessarily. But still, for you got a $492,000 signing bonus, basically 493 if you round up, out of college in 2023, and then he's been in the minor leagues literally 2024, and now in the big leagues making league minimum, which isn't it's not 760,000 isn't chump change. It's not nothing. I mean, you get paid $750,000 to live out your dream. That's not that bad. Um, but he immediately, boom, $2 million signing bonus at this contract, and then he gets $1 million the next couple of years, and then it starts to tick up a little bit. Um, and then the thing is, you also have to remember this is an 8-year deal, 10 years total. He's only 22 years old. Kristian Campbell could still hit free agency at like 32 and still sign another long-term deal with the Red Sox or with whoever else, right? This isn't like Campbell's it sets up Campbell good for financial stability, and makes him financially stable for pretty much, you can very much argue, the rest of his life. But at the same time, it gives him that opportunity. He could still hit free agency later in his career after this extension is done because he's only 22 years old. So overall, I think it kind of ends up working out really good for Campbell in some ways. Um,
Right.
but then the other thing too is this is a guy for the Red Sox who is going to be a really big part of the future, especially when a lot of the Red Sox top prospects, at least in the upper minors, are left-handed bats in terms of position players. Obviously, Roman and Marcelo are left-handed bats, and then your next highest-rated bat is either, depending on who you talk to, is either Yastinson Garcia, or right behind him is Mikey Romero. Mikey Romero's another lefty. Obviously, Austinson hits righty, and Austinson's on the 40 man. But that's what three your two now other top two prospects that aren't your top two prospects who are in the minor leagues are lefties, and then in Double A, Mikey Romero is also a lefty. He's also a middle infielder that could pose some issues down the road, but that's a down the road issue,
That's you
right?
worry about that. You worry about
Exactly.
a lot
But
of
but
this
in
stuff
terms
is
of
you worry
Christian
about it. But
Campbell
yeah, I
though,
understand.
but in terms of Christian Campbell, him being that righty bat when, who knows what the future is going to hold with Trevor Story? Who knows how long Alex Bregman is going to be a Boston Red Sox, right? When you already have Tristan Casas and Rafael Devers and Jaron Duran and Wilyer Abreu on your team, all lefties, right? Having
Hmm.
Christian Campbell as a right-handed bat and having him locked in for the long haul, is really important for the Red Sox, especially too. He's gonna play second base. We did see him play left field for a game, right? Is he going to be the second baseman long term? Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe he'll get moved to left field. Who knows, right? We don't necessarily know what it looks like just because we don't know what the future of the Red Sox is going to look like. But he's versatile, hits the crap out of the ball, really good bat speed, which is one thing the Red Sox are really high on. A little bit of an unorthodox swing, but it works for him, right? We've seen unorthodox swings work before for some guys, and it feels like it's working for Christian Campbell. And we brought this up kind of on our opening day, or no, sorry, our first episode of the new year of the new baseball season after the Rangers series, where it's like Christian Campbell. I brought it up, had a bonkers year last year, idiotic, stupid, bonkers, insane, whatever you want to call it. This is a guy who in 2024 was not only the minor league baseball player of the year, but he was also the Red Sox minor league offensive player of the year, the minor league baseball hitting prospect of the year, breakout prospect of the year, MILB minor league baseball first team prospect team. He was the Eastern League MVP, which he only played 56 games in the Eastern League. He was a season and all-star, obviously. He was also the Sea Dogs Defensive Player of the Year, and he only played 56 games there. That says something, right? And there's obviously probably even other accolades in there as well. But just the year he had was absolutely ridiculous last year. He's already looked good in 5 big league games, and now he is signed to a long-term deal. This is a guy who could potentially be special for the Red Sox.
Yeah, no, I agree. Um, but yeah, it's an exciting day, and I think there's a lot to look forward to in the future, um, especially with this young talent. And getting them locked up it's a big step, and they did it. And I'm not trying to disregard what you said, but I think another part of it is too, there is risk, right? Like, what if he slumps? What if he finally reaches a big league slump? Do we start asking questions? Probably not, but it's going to be interesting nonetheless to see what happens throughout the duration of the contract.
Definitely, and yeah, there is risk involved, but you can make the argument there's risk involved with anything, right? Chris Sale had one of the best track records when the Red Sox signed him, and look how that contract turned out, right? Not great for the Red Sox. Now that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean you shouldn't sign people to contracts. You need to, right? Um, but there's risk involved with anything, in all honesty, and I think the Red Sox too are probably looking at this, go thinking too, like worst case scenario, they have a get out after 8 years. That would only so basically you'd only have Campbell for 2 more years than you would have had him if something goes
Yeah.
horribly wrong, and it's literally for what you have him for a couple more years, and yeah, it's a little bit more money, but overall, that AAV is still 7.5 or whatever. That's very much you can very much deal with that. And in all honesty, at worst, Kristian Campbell's a bench player. At the absolute worst, if everything goes wrong, he's a bench player, right? At the
Oh
absolute
yeah,
worst. So yeah.
yeah, and you even said it, like, he doesn't have a home now necessarily. Like, right now it's second base, but in 2027 it could be left field, could even be right field for all it's worth. Probably not, but you never know these things, right? It could be
Yeah.
somewhere else. Like, you don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and time is going to tell. This goes to show that ownership just opened up, the window. They recognize this window, and it's opening up. The championship, the winning window is opening up, and it's go time, and ownership realizes it, and so does Breslow. So
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing. They realize that it's time to go now. And it feels like Breslow has a little bit. It might be the fact that he's a former player, but he has that kind of a little bit kind of a killer instinct in closing out these deals that maybe a Heim Bloom didn't have. That's not to say anything bad about Heim, because I always said with Heim, it wasn't the moves he made, it was the moves he didn't make. And it feels like Craig isn't afraid to go out and make those moves that need to be made, or maybe you're going to have some risk, but you know what, screw it, let's go make that move, right? I think, and that's not to say Heim did anything terrible. I mean, Heim, at the end of the day, Heim was the one who drafted Kristian Campbell. He was the one in charge. Obviously, yeah, Campbell was a fourth round, um, oh god, not complimentary. Um, I'm, ugh,
a comp pick,
yeah, a compensation pick.
same
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
compensation. Yeah.
yeah. Fourth round. He was a fourth round compensation pick. So it's not like Heim Bloom was hand picking him to be who he is now. But Heim was still in charge. Heim was in charge drafting Marcelo Meyer with the fourth pick, right?
Roman
Although
Anthony.
although to be fair, anyone could have picked Marcelo. Heim was in charge when they took Roman Anthony, and a big part of that draft was getting Mikey Romero in the first round and going underslot with him, and getting Cutter Coffee in the second, and then Roman Anthony, right? Which I know Cutter Coffee, ended up getting traded, and he hasn't totally lived up to that second round pick. But that's, you know what? But you get the point I'm making, though, in some ways, right? It's not like this isn't to say Heim had a bad tenure with the Red Sox. Where there's some negatives, yeah. But like I said, it's kind of was the moves he didn't make, and it feels like Craig Breslow is the guy who's he's making the moves that are the moves is making is good, but there's not a ton of moves that he doesn't make right now where it's you probably should do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, they missed out on a couple starting pitchers, so they go out and trade for Garrett Crochet, right? They didn't get a guy in the winter meeting. They didn't want to leave the winter meetings without a guy. They go and get Garrett Crochet, right? They give up that big price to go get Garrett Crochet, and then as they signed him to an extension now, right? You get this extension done with Kristian Campbell and lock him up, right? Like that's big. Obviously, would love to maybe have like a Tristan Casas locked up, but obviously that's not going to happen. It doesn't seem like that's happening anytime soon. Especially with him coming off an injury, I think the team's valuation of him versus Casas's own self evaluation might be a little bit of ways apart right now. Um, but like Breslow is making the moves that we want to see happen and the moves that the best teams in baseball make, locking up their young stars early. We saw it with Julio Rodriguez. We just saw it with Jackson Merrill and the Padres. We saw it with the Braves for so many times with Acuna and Albies and etc. Right? And yes, these moves don't always work out, but if they don't work out, the bullet that you have to bite isn't as big as swinging and missing on a big free agent contract, a la Pablo Sandoval, Carl Crawford, etc., right? It's not as big of a bullet to bite.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah,
that's
I
kind of an
mean,
important thing.
yeah, yeah, and you said it too. Like, I just want to go back to the draft. Like, yeah, did anyone expect him to be that guy? No, but there's some progress in that, and like drafting, like maybe who knows, maybe he was that guy. Maybe Heim did have visions for him. So it all depends, and I feel like there's only so much that the organization can scout on and do when it comes to fourth round picks, but they struck gold, and it's not to say that. I mean, it's crazy that someone who was in high A last year to begin the year is now in the big leagues getting $100 million max value contract, which is insane. That just baffles my mind. Does that baffle your
Yeah.
mind too?
Oh no, it's stupid. But like I said, it goes back to just how insane the year Kristian Campbell had last year, right? Like it's legitimately idiotic, like idiotic in a good way, because like it's so, like I said, I feel like I've been just repeating myself from our episode Sunday night that went on Monday morning, but it is literally bonkers the year he had, literally bonkers, right? And so I think in some ways too, it's like if you're the Red Sox, I don't want to say you're buying low, but like you're buying before the true potential really comes out, right? Because he's only played 5 big league games. There's a reason he was on the opening day roster, right? And now this extension even further backs that up, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
on top of even his performance in the first 5 games he's played in. So I think overall, like, you know, this deal is like real, and I think too it sets the groundwork for the Red Sox to get other deals done with like Marcelo and Roman, right? I think that's another thing too. It could very well lay that potential groundwork for those deals once those guys, are ready for those deals. Which, like I said, I think maybe that might not be a thing until like this upcoming off season, until after they make their big league debuts. But the point still, is still going to stand with those guys, right? And then here's the other thing too. If Kristian Campbell wins Rookie of the Year this year, you know what happens
They get a pick.
at the end of the first round? Exactly. Kristian Campbell might be repaying the Red Sox for a long time. For
We'll
a
see.
really long time. It's going to be interesting. Jason, before we wrap up, any final thoughts that you have on this Campbell extension?
I'll ask you the question that you asked me yesterday. What world would you say if the Red Sox don't win a World Series in the next 10 years? Will you view this as a failure? Let's throw that out right now.
In all honesty, with how high the Red Sox are on Kristian Campbell and how high I am, I don't know if there's a way this contract can be a failure. Like, even if he's at best like just your normal everyday player, the AAV is still only 7.5 million on it, right?
Correct.
I literally don't know it. I don't know if you could actually like this. I don't know if this contract could actually fail with with what Kristian Campbell's potential like outlook looks like. Like that's what's so insane about this deal. This isn't like a fringe top 100 prospect that's maybe a team's top prospect though, or a top 50 prospect getting a extension early. This is a legitimate like top of the line prospect that you are locking up, and the Red Sox have that faith in him. We just saw the Padres with Jackson Merrill after his first year. in the entire first year in the big leagues, he just got 9 for 135, which, don't get me wrong, overall, that's still a really nice deal for the Padres, but this Campbell deal looks arguably like 10 times better than that. But the Red Sox also have done doing it only 5 games into his big league career. I don't know. The only way this contract fails is like if Kristian Campbell like gets kidnapped or something. I don't know. Like there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. As long as he's on the field, there's no way this contract is going to be a bad contract.
I would say it's a bad contract if he just gets option and DFA. That's it. I mean, to your credit, like, yeah, all these scouts say he's like a generational talent for a reason. He's going to be, people think this is like the craziest, the craziest story in like all of baseball, and like in terms of a prospect coming up, in terms of development, like his ability to be developed was insane, right? They have so much faith in him, and Passan even said like the Red Sox love this guy. They're going to do everything in their power to have him make the opening day roster, and he did. And here we are now with an extension that
They
came
moved
basically
their
out of left field.
franchise cornerstone to DH to get Kristian Campbell on the roster.
Yes.
Just think about that. Think about
They
how
moved Rafael
insane.
Devers to DH so Kristian Campbell could be on the roster. That's crazy.
It's
That's
wacky.
insane.
It is insane. So with that, I think that's actually a great point to kind of hop off on that. So as always, thanks for tuning in to the Fenway Focus. My name is Derek. I'm here with Jason, as always. And as long as there's no more breaking news, we will see you on Monday morning for a brand new episode with a weekly recap here on the Fenway Focus. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Go Sox.